Hi, this is Rod Massimo with the Massimo Show. And today's special guest is Mr. Max Finn. Max Finn, co-founder of Unicorn. Do I have that right, Max?
Unicorn Innovations. You got it, Rod.
Unicorn Innovations. And I've known Max for quite a while now, Max. It's got to be almost 10 years, I think. Is that correct?
I think 10 years, yep.
And what I love about having Max on the show is I've seen the evolution of, and I'm sorry to say it's Max, but I'm an old man, this kid just starting out with a dream, a desire, and then developing his business, and also through Facebook, watching him grow up and get married and established. And now, he has that life that we all desire, one of abundance, obviously, but also he's worked his ass off to make it all possible. So Max, welcome to the Massimo Show.
It's awesome to be here, Rod. And to be fair, I don't work that hard. So I just kind of coast and things worked out for me.
We know that's not true for a fact, but I love the attitude. So Max, let's get right to it. The listeners are going to be folks that are either in business and trying to scale, or, maybe they're just starting out. Let's talk about you in the early phases. Before Unicorn Innovations, where were you and what were you doing?
Sure. So I just started my first company in college, and we did a lot of things right. And we also made a lot of mistakes, probably 3-to-1 on the mistake to doing things right ratio there. We went the Silicon Valley route. We raised a lot of money. We built a big tech team. We focused on product and growth over revenue and a business model. And we all know how that ends. We're seeing what's happening with WeWork and these big companies. It's all kind of imploding. And towards the end of that, I kind of realized, listen, I can't keep doing this for another few years where I'm just building a business that doesn't have revenue coming in, where you see the burn rate going up and you see the cash balance going down every month and there's nothing coming in. So it's a straight slope down unless you raise more money. So towards the end of that, I started my first e-commerce store.
Before you get to the e-commerce store, I got to ask, people asking, well, what was that first business? What were you actually doing?
Yeah. So it was a company called The Daily 100. We eventually rebranded it to a company called Loot, L-O-O-T. Basically, we created a long tail influencer platform that allowed brands to connect with, incentivize, and reward their customers, essentially, who are kind of micro influencers. Everybody has some level of influence, and usually the smaller the influencer, the tighter the circle is. So we created this really great mobile platform and allowed big brands, small brands to connect with those individuals and to basically reward certain actions. So, hey, I want photos of people in my store with my product so I can use for ads. I want them to share this on Facebook or Twitter, and they could give cash rewards, gift cards. So it was a really cool product. I think if we had done it today, it would be different. We were way ahead of the curve. We were mobile first before mobile first was a thing. We were native advertising before native advertising was a thing. We were mobile, a mobile ad platform, an influencer platform. We were all these things, and we had to really sell it to these businesses. They didn't really get it. Now they're all in on it. So I feel good, at least, that we were on the right path and we had the right idea. We were just a few years too early.
Yeah, I will tell you, I remember when I invented a sports watch back in the 90s. Actually, it was the early 2000s. I invented a sports watch. I'm a patent inventor, Max. I don't know you know that. And I found myself in the headquarters of Timex. And they said to me, I'll never forget this, no one will ever track their workouts on a watch, Rod. It's a dumb idea.
And that's why they're timings.
Oh, well, timing's everything. Okay, so you tried. You moved forward, you went to e-commerce. Tell us a little about that phase of your life.
Sure. So it was a really cool aha moment for me where I realized, I've been spending years of my life and raising millions of dollars to build this business to make money. And I had this huge team and all this stuff. And I realized then with e-commerce and stuff like print on demand and drop shipping, which is really popular right now, that wait, I don't have to have machines. I don't have to make t-shirts or do printing. I don't have to ship it. All I got to do is set up a store and upload some products. And when a customer comes and buys, the order goes to somebody else and they do all the work and send it to them. And I just collect the spread. It was this really amazing moment for me. And I think everyone I know now that's gotten into dropshipping, print on demand, they all have that moment when they figure that out. So yeah, I started for e-commerce store, and it was a company called Startup Drugs with a Z. It was a joke. It's one of those things where that's why the name wasn't that serious. I thought, hey, I just came out of the startup, Silicon Valley life. The startup life is crazy. And I wanted to make a brand for those people that understood it. So I had funny sayings, burning cash like it's my job, and just things that were poking fun at the VC world and the entrepreneurial world. But it took off. And all of a sudden, we sold $5,000 worth of t-shirts in our first 2 days. And at the time, that was a ton of money for me. And it's a ton of money for a lot of people. But I came from making nothing, running a venture-backed company, to making thousands of dollars a week. And I knew I was onto something. So that kind of pushed me down the path of Facebook ads and e-commerce, because those are the two channels that I just had success with. So we put it on a site called Product Hunt, which is now it's a big deal. AngelList bought it a few years ago. It's a big company now. Basically, the idea of it when we first ran it, this is early days, was that you could upload a new product and the community every day would upvote, kind of like Reddit, the coolest ideas. So every day there's, 20, 30 new businesses or products come out and people vote, and the ones that get the top get a ton of traffic. Now it's a really big deal because it's a massive platform and it gets just insane traffic. But even back then, this is 5-6 years ago, we were the second most upvoted of the day, and it drove tens of thousands of visitors to our store for free. So we got this initial momentum. We got a lot of traction out of the gate. And then I started dabbling in Facebook ads. I heard about Facebook ads. I'd seen it a little bit. And this is really primitive back in the early days before you had all the cool stuff you have today. I threw up some basic ads, terrible, just an image of a t-shirt. I didn't know how to optimize it. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't tracking anything. I was optimizing for clicks instead of purchases, but people started buying it. And I was like, this is really cool. I can spend $10, $50 a day here on Facebook and sell $200, $300 for the t-shirts. Now, those multiples aren't there anymore.
This is awesome. So this is where your business now leads you, is the optimization, the placement, positioning, consulting of Facebook ads. So you taught yourself advertising on Facebook?
Yeah. Most people, when you're early on a platform, that's really all you can do, right? If you're one of the first people there, there's no textbook. There's no masters there. It's kind of just, it's an open platform. It's a playground and you got to play around to figure things out.
Well, that's incredible. So now you're starting on Facebook doing ads. When did you decide, I think I can make a living out of helping people on this platform called Facebook?
It was probably after I got some recognition for startup drugs. I had a few people reach out to do some podcasts. Shopify actually reached out and I did some guest blogs for Shopify. And I started posting in their forums. And a lot of people were asking, well, hey, can you help me? And so I started getting these small businesses that were spending a few hundred or a few $1,000s a month on Facebook, and they needed help. And at the time, this is, I guess, the fake it to make it thing is a true thing, because at the time, like, I was not that qualified to help anybody. I had just gotten lucky kind of, but I said, you got to do it. I said yes. And did well for some people, didn't do well for some people, but I did well for more people than I didn't, and just slowly picked momentum up. And it was, the accounts got a little bigger, the business got a little bigger, the retainers got a little bigger. And that was for like a 2-year period where I was kind of doing retainer work. Yeah.
Max, that's awesome. I know you're so passionate. You can tell us more, but here's what I know. I know then a big break came from you with a certain, well, let's say celebrity. Is that a fair word? And here's what we're going to do. When we come back in the second part of our special podcast with Max Finn, we're going to dive into this big break he got, show you about the break I got, and more importantly, how he leveraged that break to build the business where he is today. So stay tuned for our second part with Maxwell Finn on The Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santo Massimo, president and founder of the Massimo Group. And did you know that for over the past 11 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners just like you in repositioning their and/or their team's efforts so they can build the personal, professional practice they've always dreamed of. We provide coaching programs for all levels of experience, earnings, and yes, success. So if you're finally ready to get off that transaction treadmill and chasing deals that are growing nowhere and start building the personal, professional business and life consisting of greater wealth and more time, well, check us out at Massimo.coach. That's Massimo.coach. Welcome back to the second part of my session with Max Finn, Facebook guru extraordinaire. And Max is going to share with us his big break and then tell you exactly what you need to think about and what you should start doing in regards to leveraging your business and starting to scale it via Facebook. So Max, wow, what an amazing beginning. Obviously, if you say you just hang out, isn't nothing further from the truth. You work your butt off. And so you're working your butt off. You're starting to get inquiries. Hey, Max, can you help me here? Help me there. And then something happened that really helped you get to the next level. Tell us about your interaction with someone and how that helped.
Sure. So my business partner, Jeremy Adams, and we met a guy named Kevin Harrington, who was the original shark on Shark Tank. And he invented infomercial as seen on TV, sold $5 billion worth of products. Just an amazing success story. And we realized for such a big presence, for such an amazing entrepreneur that people know, he didn't have a big online presence. And so what we did is, hey, Kevin, let us help you with that. Let us help you grow your online presence, your email list, all that stuff.
Wait, people are saying, wait a minute. this kid just walked up or called or emailed the celebrity and somehow got in the door? Because you take that as, oh yeah, but tell us how that happened.
It's pretty much that basic of what we did. This is a good tip for everybody. People assume that because they're a big name, they don't need any help and you can't talk to them. And everyone that approaches these guys or these women that are successful, they just want to take. What can you do for me? It's amazing what happens if you approach them and offer to help them. It sounds crazy, but it works. So my partner, Jeremy, he had a food truck manufacturing company. He won the best new business of Central Florida. Kevin was the judge, and that was kind of the open of the door into talking to Kevin. But I've seen people do it, come up to him without any intro and make a really compelling pitch and do business with them. So it's really not impossible to have that type of connection.
So you walked up to Kevin through your business partner and being on that show, and you just said you could help him?
He said, hey, you are an amazing success story and you're doing huge things. We think there's a massive opportunity online for you to kind of continue to play out the Shark Tank fame and really monetize your brand. But you need to start doing X, Y, and Z. You need to start growing your Facebook page. You need to start growing your email list, your text list, start putting out digital products, courses, info products, right? All the things that he didn't have in place and wouldn't know where to start. Or he had to pay somebody a lot of money to do it for him. So we're coming to him and saying, hey, we'll do it for free. But let us help you. It's very little risk for somebody like that. And it's a pattern interrupter because nobody else is doing it. People are asking stuff for him.
That's great, Max. I hear a lot of folks and listen to a lot of podcasts that talk about, should I give my stuff away for free? Am I then cheapening my product or my service? You obviously gave it for free. So can you just share why? And then at what point did you say, okay, we've proven value, it's time to start charging?
Sure. I think when you're getting started in your career, or you're transitioning, doing something very new where you have no case studies, no success stories, you need to have that base. You need to have some success story, some testimonial, some results to be able to justify charging money for something, right? Otherwise, why would I pay you? You have no background. So for us, it was a no-brainer. We're young. We didn't have much to lose. We wanted to break into the industry. And we knew this guy could open the door to a massive pipeline of business for us. So we're looking 2-3 steps ahead. We weren't just doing it for the heck of it and saying, we hope something happens, right? We had kind of a game plan going into it. And I would say it was about 6 months in, 3 to 6 months in, that we started kind of floating the idea of, hey, you get a lot of deals coming in here and here and here. What do you think about us working together on these deals? And he was kind of thinking the same thing at a similar time. So we both were thinking the same thing. And that's what led to saying, let's try a company together, an agency. I'll bring the deals in, you do the services, and we'll split it 50-50.
That's a great story and great lesson for everyone. As I shared earlier, our big break was when I wrote my first book, and back at the time when we were just focusing on commercial real estate, unlike today, and one of the world's top producing brokers I wrote about. I said, listen, I'm going to write about you in my book. And just like you all in your communities, go out to these industry leaders and these Goliaths and ask them if they can be on your podcast or you can do an interview with them or highlight them somehow. Look, they're willing. It didn't cost a gentleman anything to be in my book. And that led him to say, hey, exactly what you do. I explained it to him. And then we did a little brief work together. And next thing I knew, he's been a client for 7 years. And he's referred me more business than any source we ever had. So, Max, it's a great story of how you went out there and you were proactive and you didn't worry about, what value could I bring? You knew you could bring value, which is awesome. Yeah. So you start with Kevin. You start building the business. Is this at the same time that Unicorn Innovations came about?
So Unicorn happened about 2 years after that. So our company with Kevin was called Quantum Media. That was our agency with him. We ran Quantum for about 2 years. During that 2 years, we worked with companies like 3M and Sam's Club. We worked with probably 100 plus product businesses. We launched our own products, one of which was our famous Trump coin, where we sold about $4 million worth of collectible coins during the election. And that was a massive win for us. That kind of put us on the map in the product space and gave Jeremy and I a lot of legs as well.
Look, I'm going to not go political here. That's not the point of this lesson. Don't take the political side of this lesson. And you're going to, you're going to mute it. No, not you, just the audience. You mute out the lesson here, folks. So what opportunity did you see? It's the election. I'll see the highest peak of interest. And you put out a Trump coin. Was that your idea? Was it an idea that someone else had? And you said, I can make that happen? How did that work?
Yeah. So Kevin had done the Obama coin. And this again goes back to not being political. It's based on who was going to buy stuff, right? So he did the Obama coin on the previous election and sold a ton of those, did a lot of TV and phone sales. So said, let's do it for this election. We initially had the Hillary coin. And election night, we realized she was going to lose. So I rebuilt everything overnight.
Time out. Election night, you were saying, because as you're watching the returns come in, you're thinking, okay, it's not going to be a Hillary coin year.
Yeah, exactly. It became very, very clear that she was going to lose. And at that point, we said, we need to change everything. We need to rebuild the landing pages, redesign the coin. Luckily, we didn't hold inventory. We had a partner that was making them. So we didn't have any costs. Like we didn't sink any money into it up front. So it didn't really hurt us. But in the long run, from a financial perspective, it turned out to be the best thing that could happen because his fan base buys a lot more stuff and they spend a lot more money and a much higher percent of their income. And I have some stories. Maybe next time we talk, I can tell you some, but it's crazy.
So you sold the Trump coin. What was the price of a Trump coin?
So we initially started at $14.95. We moved up to $19.95, and then it ended up around $29.95. When we saw basically no elasticity in demand, we kind of just kept pushing the envelope. But keep in mind that we were one of the only people selling actual currency. So everyone else selling stuff was selling tokens. You need to have a Treasury Department relationship to actually print on US currency. So we had that. So we were allowed to actually print on real half dollars, real dollars, $2 bills. So the perceived value was a lot higher because it was currency you could go and actually use and buy stuff.
Okay, so these coins actually did, that's the point I was trying to make. They actually had value, whether it be half dollar, or you said $2 bills.
Yeah, so, silver eagles, all that stuff, yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating, Max. I never heard that story. So now you're selling Trump coins. So then does the unicorn innovation start? And if so, what is the mission? What is the goal of unicorn innovations? What do you want to get out of it?
So unicorn was started with the purpose of empowering business owners to accelerate their customer acquisition. That's really what our mission is all about, is helping business owners around the world of all sizes scale their businesses through paid traffic, through customer acquisition. And so that happens through education. We have an info side of our business. We have courses and trainings for the smaller businesses. Then we have our consulting side, which is very high end, very premium. We're probably the most expensive on the market. And that's where we work with bigger businesses, bigger brands. And then we also have our own brands because we realized we built so many companies from the ground up pretty much as the media buyers where we had no upside. We had no equity. We had no royalties, no nothing. So we're like, well, let's start doing it ourselves. So now we have a political business. We have a wealth business. We have our own brands that have content sites, stores, all kinds of great stuff going on that we're growing and building that we could eventually sell one day.
Max, it's interesting because like I shared earlier, we went from just focusing on commercial real estate coaching to then consulting in the arena for certain companies versus individuals. And then we got, because of our demand, we started coaching other folks outside commercial real estate industry. So it was always something that made me say, there's an opportunity here, there's an opportunity there. And it's obvious you put that on steroids. You're everywhere. You're like an octopus and more. Right? Maybe you're a centipede.
Yep, I think so.
So you have all these businesses. So people are thinking, well, how many employees does Unicorn have?
So we intentionally structured Unicorn to be very different than Quantum. Quantum was, we grew that thing like a traditional agency. We had 2 offices. We had 20 plus employees, very high overhead, which is fine when you're selling millions of dollars of Trump coins and your business is booming. But when a few clients leave you, it hurts. So Unicorn, we've grown our overhead very, very slow. We try to stay as lean as possible. We only have a few actual full-time employees. The rest of our business is vendors, independent contractors, and partners. So we probably have 35 contractors, vendors, partners that we work with, that we sub business out to, that help us with things. But our core team, super lean. They work on a lot of different projects. And we like it that way. It allows us to really control our finances better. And we can be more profitable. We can invest in things that we want to actually build, like our own brands, our own businesses, instead of just pumping it into payroll.
Well, I'll say, our model, I couldn't agree with you more. Of our 40-something folks that are licensed to represent the Massimo Group, we only have 2 employees. And just like you, sales, marketing, operations, coaching, everything, they're independent contractors. They have their own gigs. They have their own businesses. So if you're listening to this, you can scale, you can grow your company without taking enormous overhead and risk in today's market. Okay, so much value. We got one more segment to go with Max, and this is where we get to Facebook itself, things he's learned via Facebook, why the trials and tribulations, and also suggestions he has for you to scale your business. And that's coming up on our final session with Max Finn.
Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and happy holidays. Look, we want to give you the gift of personal improvement. We want to put you in position that 2020 will be your best year yet. So, starting December 17th on our website, that's Massimo.com, relevance-group.com, we're going to post for free our 7 days to your best CRE year yet workbook. All the exercises, all explanations there for you for free to download. So check it out. And let's make sure that in 2020, that's your best year yet.
Hey, this is Rod Massimo, and back with our third and final session with Max Finn. Man, has he shared so much so far. Think about how he's grown his business and businesses, how he's developed into this expert, how now he can charge premium pricing, how he's gone out, seen opportunities, and developed other businesses and scaled his business not through employees, but through the use of vendors, subcontractors, and the like. But his specialty is Facebook. If he had one, he has so many. So let's talk about Facebook. Max, welcome back.
Good to be here.
Okay, Max, let's talk about it. Facebook. Man, I've heard so much about Facebook lately, and I've been on it for many years with your help initially, obviously. But what is going on with Facebook? Is it changing? How has it changed? Well, here's the question. How has it changed since you got involved in a more consistent basis?
I mean, it's changed exponentially since I've been on it. And, a lot of it's for good and there's a lot of it's for bad. We're not going to do the history lesson. Let's talk about the last year or so just to keep it fresh for everybody. I think the biggest change on Facebook has been a radical shift away. And I don't want to scare anybody. I'm not trying to scare anybody here with changes. It's really positive stuff we'll talk about in a second, but a shift away from caring more about profits and shareholders and advertisers to caring about user privacy. User privacy is huge right now. And so they've pulled a lot of features away. They've taken a lot of targeting options away. They've cracked down on ad accounts, business managers, profiles of advertisers. So it's become a lot more challenging. On the flip side, it is still by far the most powerful ad platform in the world. It's the easiest to use. It can reach the most people. It's growing the fastest in terms of just its exposure, ability to reach people. And it can still be incredibly profitable if you know how to use it right. But definitely change and a little more challenging in some respects.
I'm living that. I've found in the last 6 months alone, the targeted audiences we used to be allowed to advertise to, they had just said, nope, no more. You're taking those away because of the change, whether it be in the privacy issues, the algorithms. So Facebook is changing, yet it still is such a strong, is really a critical medium for you to get your word out. So Max, when you're working with, and let's not go with the 3Ms of the world quite yet and the Sam's Club, let's go with the small business, the entrepreneur, maybe the solopreneur. And you look at that person, give me 2 or 3 key things they should be thinking about how to best leverage Facebook, either organically or paid advertising.
Sure. So when you're looking at things to do with Facebook, I think I started to talk more about, listen, Facebook's a channel, but there are some principles of just paid traffic and acquiring customers online that can be applied to any channel you're using. So let's talk about that because going too deep into the platform, it's not as universally applicable. So when you lose targeting options, like you just talked about, that's what everyone's freaking out about. Oh, I can't target this person anymore. I can't target this person anymore. We haven't been really focused on targeting for years on Facebook because we do something called reverse targeting. I love to do. It's way more effective, way more scalable. And essentially the underlying principle is if you're in an auditorium and you're selling commercial real estate, right? You're selling properties and there's 5,000 people there and you don't know who they are. You're not going to get on stage and just start pitching real estate, right? The first thing you're going to do is, hey, how many people here are interested in investing in property? And people are going to raise their hand. How many people here have $1 million to invest? You're going to see those people and you're going to talk to those people, right? So think about applying that to Facebook. And you can do that through content, right? So maybe you create an article, you create a video series, you create a training, some type of content that is only relevant and interesting to your target demo. So now I can take that content, create an ad for it, and I can target that to broader audiences, right? So I don't have to know the targeting yet because I'm going to run it. And the people that are interested are going to raise their hand by actually clicking it or watching the video. And then I can do something called retargeting. And I can talk a little more about that in the next step. But the principle is basically the same thing as you do in person. And we've been doing that across the board for physical product companies, for coaches, for high ticket, for car dealerships, mortgage brokers, whatever it is, like it just works. Because again, an 18-year-old college kid is not going to click on an ad that says 12 strategies for maximizing your retirement income with commercial real estate. But the person that you're looking to sell something to is going to click on that. Now you know exactly who they are. They're interested in this and they're interested in, increasing their income with commercial real estate. It's a perfect prospect to come in and they've told you they're a perfect prospect, at least in a general sense. So that's the first tip that I'd recommend, and it's super effective.
Okay, so what I heard you say, and this is coach speak, Max,
Yep.
what I heard you say is you have figured out, right? Let's define the target audience, the avatar, the ideal client, what the issues are internally, externally, and then let's determine, right, a specific message that will resonate with that audience. So number one, let's go out and capture the target audience you're looking for, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you figured out the algorithms and the ads and the messaging. You do all that in-house?
Yep.
Okay, that's terrific. Okay, so what else?
So then the next thing is to focus on how you can re-engage as individuals. Because the reality is that most people do not buy something the first time they see it, right? That's why the big brands are everywhere. That's why you can't turn on the TV or go down the street or go on Facebook without seeing an ad for Apple and Nike and Under Armour, these big brands, right? They understand the power of omnipresence, the power of repeat exposure, of just drilling that into your brain. This is the brand, this is the brand, this is the brand. So you can't just expect to run one ad and that person go, and all of a sudden they're gonna be like, you know what? I want to hire Rod as a coach. I want to pay him $10,000 a month. I'm good. Now, every now and then you might find somebody that just is, they're in the perfect moment. They're in a transition from one coach to another. They love what you said, maybe, right? But the reality is the rest of the people are going to need to be convinced. And so you need to be using retargeting on Facebook. And retargeting basically means I can create a bucket of people that did a certain action. So that action might be they watched that video we just talked about in the first step, the 11 tips for maximizing retirement income with property. So I can create a bucket of people that watched video A, and now I can show them ad number 2. And ad number 2 might be a deeper dive of education. It might be an ad to a webinar or a training where I get an opt-in, an email address, a phone number. It might be an ad to an application for a free consult. And then the next step might be, hey, I want to build more trust, more credibility, more authority. And I do that through testimonials. I do that through case studies. I do that through press, through awards. So understand, where is that person at mindset wise? Where are they at in terms of the funnel? Are they cold? Are they warm? Are they hot? And what do I need to do to get them over the fence to the next step? What objections do I need to overcome? What challenges, what roadblocks do I need to block to make sure they feel comfortable to take step 2 and then step 3 and then step 4, and then ideally pay for my services?
Okay, so the client journey is what we're talking about. There's a client journey that you take them through. And for the record, I need to get to the point where I'm charging $10,000 a month. Folks are not there. Yeah. That's a great, I love that. I love that goal there, Maxwell. But so you take it through the client journey. And so do you find you've been doing this for years now, and I don't know if there is a right answer or a standard or average or normal, but is it so many touches till they can actually be in a buying position? Have you figured that out, or every client, every product is different?
So the short answer is it's different for everybody, but there's data out there. A lot of research has been done on this topic. And usually the answer is between 6 to 8 touch points that are required for somebody to feel comfortable to buy a product. Now, again, if you're selling a $15 widget, probably more like 1 or 2. If you're selling $1,000 a month, few $1,000 a month coaching, it's probably going to be closer to 8. That's kind of the rough number, 6 to 8 touch points.
Okay.
That's not just paid, by the way. That can also be, they see your stuff on organic on Facebook, emails, text messages, videos.
So when you work with your clients, you're also supporting or suggesting to them that just don't rely on these Facebook ads, go out and do more organic traffic and other ways to touch your clients, correct?
You need to be diversified. You need to be omni-channel, which means multiple places, touching them. And you need to have organic. You can't just be running ads to people. People don't like being sold to. So you need to provide value, and you do that through the organic stuff.
Great. And you said omni-channel. Does that mean Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok? I mean, depending on your audience, obviously different channels. Let's keep it the professional channels, given that we have much of a professional audience. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn seem to be the three-legged stool for professional services. Do you believe that?
I would definitely throw Google and YouTube into the mix. I mean,
of course,
obviously YouTube's under Google, but I mean, YouTube is a huge opportunity, probably one of the biggest opportunities for most people in 2020, but I'm not an expert on it. I'm dabbling in it and I have friends that are very good at it, but it has, and I can come back on, we can do a special on YouTube, but the targeting options there and what you can do are really, really interesting for professionals that are selling things that are more intent-based. If you're searching for something, it's a great channel.
I love it. Okay. That's a great idea. I didn't even think about it in those terms. How about LinkedIn? What I hear is, this is what I hear, LinkedIn algorithms are you can do more searchable now given Facebook's shift. I've heard this. But no doubt the ads are exponentially more expensive than Facebook. Any thoughts on LinkedIn, Max?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's organic reach is incredible. That's one of the X factors for it. The ad platform, still, I've yet to meet somebody that's a heavy duty media buyer that's cracked LinkedIn on the paid side. And that's a problem. For whatever reason, it's just why people are on LinkedIn. They're just not in that mindset, and the costs are just too high. It doesn't back out for a lot of businesses.
There you go. That's really interesting that LinkedIn and their intent of being on LinkedIn may not be the same as being their intent on being Facebook. May expect or be more open, accessible via ads, but maybe not as much on LinkedIn, which is crazy because LinkedIn ads are so much more expensive. So great. So now we have a plan to move forward. So if you're just starting out, how does someone start? Let's say they think, look, I will tell you the truth, Max, when I first met you, I thought Facebook was a place that you went to find out what your high school buddies were doing. I had no idea what it was for. So let's assume there's still people naive like me. Now I've learned what Facebook is and we use it all the time and leverage it, I think, okay. But what would you suggest? Give me one thing for the audience. If they did something today, they're not engaged in Facebook, what should they do?
I'll give one thing for the paid, one thing for, because they're very different. So on the organic side, I would say get on there and create a content calendar. Start posting content every day, even if it's a 1-minute video. Try to do Facebook Lives. Facebook Lives get a lot of reach. Maybe you do a Q&A once a week. Maybe you do an interview once a week. But posting content on Facebook, especially if you're going to advertise from your page, very important. If you don't post on your page, you get dinged on the ad side of things because Facebook views that as these are just affiliate marketers or low quality advertisers who aren't actually building a brand. So you definitely want to post for that as well.
Okay. And so on the advertisement side, is there a first step in testing, trying? How does that work?
On the ad side, if somebody's watching this, they're not doing anything right now, my assumption is going to be that they haven't perfected their offer yet and they don't have a clear funnel. So before you run a single dollar, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, is they start just throwing money at stuff. And I'll go and look at what they're running traffic to. I'm like, this landing page is terrible. It's not even a landing page, it's their homepage of your website. There's no great offer. The angle's bad. There's no good creative. So I would spend some time and make sure you flesh out what's the funnel, what's the purpose, who's the perfect person that's going to go through this, why would they go through this, what objections are they going to have at each point of it. Now I can back it out and say, okay, this is what the funnel looks like. Here are the objections. Here's why they would go through it. Now I need to create angles on the creative side from the ad standpoint, either videos or good images or good copy that are going to be placed strategically throughout that funnel. So what is somebody going to see that's brand new that's coming into the first page? What is somebody going to see once they opt into the webinar? What is somebody going to see once they've submitted an application? And all of that should be mapped out, and you should have a clear idea of each step before you spend a single dollar running ads to it.
Perfect. Great advice. Thanks you, Max. As my listeners, I've said this again and again, I base my success on a few really solid principles. If I've even had any success, so it's the growth of the company. And that is, I've always aligned myself with people smarter than me in areas I know nothing about. And that is why early on, I aligned myself with Max, helped the company grow. But from your standpoint, folks out there, think about it. If you don't know about Facebook, yeah, you could go to Udemy, you could go to other sites. You could definitely teach it yourself, as Max did himself. But to a point, you got to start thinking about, what's my time worth? What should I be doing better? I need help. So given that, Max, how do folks connect with you?
Unicorninnovations.com is probably the best place to go. It has courses, it has links to all of our things, it has my personal info on it. So to keep things super simple for everybody, I would just say unicorninnovations.com. That's the place to go. We're not pitching anything, not selling anything, but that's your best place to learn more about what we do. We have free trainings, we have free stuff, we have a free Facebook group, and you can get in there and then start learning, start connecting with people.
Well, folks, think about that. You get free training, free Facebook group, free access to the expertise of Max and his vendors and his team. Just go to unicorninnovations.com. Well, Max, I can't thank you enough for sharing your valuable time with us today and sharing your insights and your suggestions with our audience. And I just can't wait to see what happens next year and the year after and what you're doing then and all the businesses you're running at that time. So thank you so much for your time today on the Massimo Show.
Thanks, Rod. It's always a pleasure.
I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, better, and different. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santamassimo with the Massimo Show.